So, welcome everyone. This is very nice to be here at Klustret for the first time doing this kind of talk or workshop. And I realize I have notes. I'm so used to speaking without notes, but I'll leave them here in case I need them. So my name is Tadaa, and I'm a lust and intimacy coach. And my journey is that I was very ambitious and wanted to do something that was really good for the world. And I was good in school, so I had good grades. So then when you have good grades, you need to use the good grades and get into the program that is difficult to get into. Even though you really don't want to do it, you need to use the grades. So I studied political science and economics at the politiskt kandidatprogrammet at Uppsala University if you want to become like a diplomat or you work at the UN. And I was very focused, so that was what I wanted to do. And while I was studying, the ambition kind of went down and I was more focusing like, let me just pass because I want to have time to dance. And I don't want to be too ambitious because then I won't have any time to dance. And I danced and I danced and I danced and I passed my exams and the things that I needed to do. And then but if I'm going to work at the UN, how can I travel to dance festivals? That then working at the UN needs to be your hobby. And it was like for every year my ambition level went down, and then it was like, well, what if I work with aid? And then I went to write my thesis in Mozambique, and I had already lived in Brazil, so I spoke Portuguese, and there was something calling me in the continent when it came to the music, with the rhythm, with the communication, the community of people. And when I was living in Mozambique and I was working at this NGO, I was also dancing with a dance company, and we were running dance projects for the kids. And I realized that what these kids needed the most was to dance. And through the dance, they were empowered in who they can be, how they can express themselves. They made friends. They felt belonging. They were introduced to or supported to continue school. And I realized that was when I danced with people, I felt like I made a bigger difference than when I was sitting in the office and trying to figure out what we in the West think that other people need. And it changed me. You know, many people, they go from the West to poorer countries or different parts of Africa and think like, I'm going to make a change. And the people who actually do it for real, it's changing them as opposed to the other way around. Because we come with an idea that I think I know what other people need. And then you get there and you like realize that I'm super stressed, that I'm always in a hurry, that I'm in control, that I want everything to work in my way, that I think that my ideas are much better than everyone else's ideas. And then there's coming a light after a while, it's like, you're a colonialist, you're a colonialist. And it was pretty hard to realize because as we are along people who are doing the same thing as you, we think we are normal. And then suddenly when you're a completely different setting and you're the only one who's different, then you realize like, maybe I'm the one who needs to change. So the change had started before, but started there. Because my way of working and being made me frustrated, while my friends around me were like, bom dia. Tudo bem? How is your mother? And there is a presence in people. And they see each other. And they don't ask, how is your mother, because it's polite. They ask because they care about how is your mother. Because if your mother is not well, that means you're not going to be well. And I invited you here today to talk about pleasure. So how are we getting to pleasure? Do we feel pleasure when we are here? Or do we feel pleasure when we're like, here? So when I was living in Mozambique for 3 years, I also didn't get sick for 3 years. Before that, I had a cold twice a year that probably stayed for like 2 or 3 months every time. I had sinus infections all the time, so I easily got, I don't know what you call it, halsfluss. And I could see how it was all related to not knowing how to relax. It was a question I asked myself for a long time. Even after 3 years in Mozambique, I would tell my friends, I would say, I've realized I don't know how to relax. And through these dances that are so grounding, and the movement where you are moving to feel something, you're moving to express something, then you also open up the body. You relax all this tension and the fear that we build up here in these parts of our body. And that also opens up for the sexual flow. And when many people talk about sexuality, for most people, it's that horny feeling very connected to the genitals, and you want to use it to have an orgasm. And for many people, that is sex. And when I talk about sexual energy, a lot of people get like, ugh, no, but sexual energy is that horniness, that particular one that is connected to the orgasm. But when you start to open up the whole body, then you realize that the sexual energy is there all the time. So it's like, it's feeling comfortable in my body, it's sitting here, it's being. I feel my sexual energy now. I feel that my root is opening. And that is because of me and how I'm connecting to myself, how I'm connecting to the earth, how I'm connecting to people. And when I've been teaching, it's been moments. I particularly remember one woman, and she would come in and she was very tense, very nervous. And it took some sessions for her to kind of relax. And then I think maybe the third or fourth sessions, we were a group of women dancing together. Finally, I saw her like coming down, and we were doing a mirror exercise like we were doing here before. Just dancing together, moving together, you connect. And then she said, I had to stop because I felt shame. Because I only feel that way with my partner. So I almost felt like I was unfaithful. And this is a very interesting reflection. And in her case, it was being unfaithful. But that shame comes so early for people. If you feel good in front of other people, that's bad. Save it for the bedroom. So we are shamed very early from parents, from society, to shut it down, which means that we're not only shutting down our capacity to have good sex, we are shutting down our life force. We are shutting down our capacity to be like, be here, be present in my body. So we're constantly like, I need to shut it down, I need to be here. And this is much more in Europe, and especially the more further up north you come, it's like, you go to Spain, to Greece, to Portugal, it's ordered a little bit like, it's allowed, yeah. And this journey took me into also opening up to a lot of other emotions, because as you open up to pleasure, you also open up to grief and to fear and to all sorts of stuff. And so I didn't take any job with any NGO. I didn't use my 60 high school points of statistics that I studied. But I started to just teach dance. And then that took me into realizing, and then Tantra, conscious sexuality. But all these emotions were coming up that I didn't know how to handle. Because if I'm inviting you to feel pleasure, and I'm going to do a workshop with you, and suddenly you come in contact with your worst trauma at the same time. Because it's interconnected, they're coupled. So now I'm studying somatic experiencing, which is the one of the, what do I want to say about it? I love somatic experiencing. It's a somatic therapy where you really learn how to listen to the body's signal of your own arousal in the body, how you're shifting, how you're distracting yourself from one emotion and the other, and you learn to self-regulate. And self-regulate to mean to come back to the body and here now. So I'm just going to do a few exercises with you. And we did already when you arrived. And looking at you all now, you're like, your eyes are like zzz, zzz, zzz. So you are very present. But one thing you can do is just focus a little bit on how you're sitting. And just notice that your body actually has a weight. When we're stressed, it's like we're leaving the body. When we're present, it's like the body's a little bit heavy. How many can feel the heaviness in their body right now? Sinking down a little bit, yeah? Most people. Yeah. If this had been a very stressful situation and I would have asked the same question, probably no one would have raised their hand, yeah? Because the stress makes it move away. And then just take a look around in the room, which is also, when we orient ourselves in a space, we're telling the brain that we are here and not anywhere else. And see something you like. What do you like? What do you see that you like? The chandeliers, I like them too. There is like 10 of them hanging in here. What do you feel when you look at that?
It's like not glamorous, but some sense of
beauty.
Sorry?
Beauty.
Yeah, but a bit more subtle sophistication.
Sophistication.
Decadence.
Decadence. And when you think of decadence, I'm seeing you like wiggling your shoulders. What do you feel in the body?
Right away, a little bit in my lower belly.
So here we are using resources in the space that makes us feel good. So when we are small kids, our parents are our resources, our main resource. But if mommy is not well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to grandmother is there, I'm going to go there instead. Or a toy is there. So we have this innate capacity to look for a resource. And then we forget it as we are adults. And then we get into the mind instead. And when we get into the mind instead, we could who is the person that I could look at in here that makes me feel calm and safe? As opposed to sitting at the train, metro, and being stressed by this person who is there. I'm like, oh, look at that lady over there. And then I can resource from her. It's like she's sitting there calm, not using the phone, you know? You know that kind of lady sitting sometimes on the train? Yeah? We can use each other. And that is pleasure. Yeah? So now we're grounded ourselves, we oriented ourselves. Now we'll just look at each other a little bit. And just notice how you get affected by different people. Which are the people that when you look at them, you feel laughing, like going up here? Which one feel more going down? So we are mirrors of each other. So from this place, I'm going to ask you, we're going to do a tiny little meditation and thinking about a moment when we felt pleasure. And before we do that, as I said before, as we explore pleasure, we also, often pleasure is coupled with other things, with shame, with grief. So I might ask you to think of something pleasurable, and then you remember your ex-partner, and then the grief and the loneliness of that partner not being here takes over our capacity to feel pleasure. Yeah? So as we do this meditation, I'm inviting you to be aware when, if and when it happens, and then you just say hello to that other feeling that is coming next to, and then you say, but right now I'm gonna see if I can go back to the part that makes me feel good, instead of being hijacked by the other one. Yeah. So then also don't take a situation that you know might be very, very vulnerable for you, because there's no space for individual therapy right here. Yeah. So you can close your eyes. And just think of a memory where you felt a lot of pleasure and that you could feel it in your whole body. And this pleasure can be cuddling with a cat. It can be out in nature. It can be playing with a child. Or it can be being intimate or sexual with someone. Or dancing by yourself. And imagine you are there now. Again, have a look around in that space. Who was there? What did you smell? What did you feel? I see many smiles around. I also see some maybe sadness. And if you could recall the pleasure that you felt that day right now, and invite yourself to feel that in your body, how many percentage can you feel? Can you feel 5? Can you feel 10? Can you feel 50? Can you feel 80? And even if you only feel 5, just focus on that 5. And where in the body do you notice the shift? Where do you feel the pleasure from that moment? So how many percent of, if 100 was that day when you felt this, can I hear how many percent are you feeling right now? 60? 80? 80? 50? 20? 2? 5? 75? 10? 50. So then now just take a moment and focus on that other percentage that is not the pleasure. What is it that is taking over? And we're not going to dive deep into it, just noticing this is what is coupled with my pleasure. Because of my history, I'm not managing to fully separate my pleasure from this other feeling that is coming up. They are actually different, but in my system thinks they are stuck together. So just say hello to this other part that is not allowing you to feel 100% pleasure in this moment. And that might be a part that hasn't been given enough space. Maybe needs some attention from you. And it might be a feeling, it might be a memory, it might be a person, it might be also a numbness. It can be that this situation is so difficult to feel that I'm not feeling anything at all. And that is also okay, that's the body's natural response. And then you thank that part that was taking away the space from the pleasure. Thank you for letting me know that you needed to be seen, you needed to be heard. And now you move back to the pleasure again. without rejecting the other part. You're just kind of like, okay, this other part is there, but now I'm choosing to be in the part that feels good. And just because that other part is wanting to take my attention, it doesn't mean I also have the pleasure in here somewhere. So in what body parts do you feel the pleasure right now, for you who are connected to that pleasure?
Lower belly.
Lower part of the belly,
Along my spine.
along your spine,
My heart.
your heart,
Shoulders.
in the shoulders,
In the torso.
in the torso,
My chest.
in the chest,
The buttocks.
the buttocks,
In my mind.
the mind,
In the chest for me.
in the chest, in your pelvis,
In my face.
in your face. Since no one else said it, I would say in my pussy, so that you don't feel like you have to be pulled. You have to only say good things here. You can feel it down. Tailbones in my pussy, yeah. So take a moment just to thank your body for its capacity to feel pleasure. I don't know if you've done that before, but if you have, you do it again. It's a good practice to do often. My body has the capacity to feel pleasure. Thank you. Even if I'm not always in contact with it. Thank you, body. And as you open your eyes, you can just look at your body and say hello to it. And like, there you are. Thank you for being here with me. Does anyone want to share how that was?
Pleasurable.
Pleasurable?
Amazing.
Amazing? You want to share more?
Yeah, it felt amazing to relive that moment and to bring out the feelings that you had in one of those happy moments and to fill your body with that.
So you could feel it in how
Yeah.
many, what was your percentage?
I had 70%, so it almost felt like I was there.
Thank you. Anyone else? So now my next question for you is, now when you feel this a little bit, connection with your pleasure, in what moments in your daily life could you slow down and feel this? That maybe you forget about? Yeah? I normally tell the participant in my courses or my clients that at least once a day I want you to consciously think about how the pleasure feels in your body. And it can be, the tea for me is very regulating. It's very like, I can sense the heat. Yeah, this is pleasure. Yeah. As I come out now, like when the first snow comes out, and I'm like, wow, I feel it. It feels so nice to step on it. It's like, come out, it's beautiful. Appreciating something. Yeah? So what moments could you connect without having to need that situation? When could you feel this in your daily life? Can I have some examples?
The shower.
In the shower, very good place to feel pleasure.
In the sauna.
In the sauna. I love the sauna.
In the morning after my meditation.
In the morning after the meditation, yeah, that's a moment to really...
Morning coffee.
Morning coffee, first one.
When I wake up.
When you wake up? In bed. And how do you enjoy that in bed?
I think it would be a great start of the day
Yeah.
to feel pleasure.
I actually do that. I don't put my alarm anymore since a year and a half. And waking up when my body wants to wake up, it's a very huge shift. And then the first thing in the morning, to pay attention to the body. How does it want to move? Whew. Where am I today? And if I'm worrying about something, I will notice that immediately and not just kind of overdrive it. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going through this situation today. That's why I feel, and then I can give a little bit of attention. It doesn't have to be a 60-minute yoga pass in the morning. Even if you give 5 minutes, a lot of personal development puts a lot of pressure on us. We think that we need to follow this routine and do these things. But just being with ourselves those minutes in the morning, and sense what is alive in here. What more moments in your day?
Qigong practice.
Qigong practice, yeah. It's really about sensing grounding, yeah.
I've tried practice doing it during washing the dishes actually.
Yeah,
It works too. If you're really
during the dishes. So when I do the Life is Rhythm classes and the Dance into Your Lust with the live drums from Mozambique or Tanzania, we practice cooking, and cleaning. And we can like, can you all do a little cleaning move in rhythm? I give you the rhythm. Oh yeah. Clean it and scrub it and reel it and scrub it. Yes, the boring stuff we can like. Yeah. And then when you're present with the cleaning, you're like, oh, it's dirty over there. And instead of feeling overwhelmed by it, you're like, oh, it needs some more. Yeah, so the Mozambican mothers have been so good teachers to me. Because we in the West, so if you have the mindset that all women who are not like doing their own business and are super independent, they are oppressed by patriarchy, we might also miss another important side, which is that we in this part of the world are all burnt out. So what I learned is that if you're going to take care of this house, if you're going to cook and you're going to clean, and that is a part of something you need to do your whole life, you might as well enjoy it. You have to love life. So if you're going to be, and even it might be the case that you're a housewife and this is your lot, and you're a woman and this is your lot. But if this is my lot, how can I learn to appreciate that life that I have? And I think that we forget about that. Because we also have a lot, but maybe I chose it. But it's still the life I'm living, and I still need to do the dishes, and I still need to clean, and I still need to pay the bills. So how can I embrace those things and find a little bit, of pleasure in those things so I can enjoy more? Yeah, let's take a breath on that. Yeah. So the next part of this talk was to talk about, so how do we find pleasure within ourselves, and how can we then have better relationships with others? So when we are not fulfilled, when we don't have this daily pleasure, it's easy to project that I need sex to feel good. And then I need the orgasm to feel good. I'm not saying I don't enjoy orgasms and I don't enjoy sex, but it should come from a place of me feeling good and my partner feeling good. And then from that place, we both feel good together. Yeah? But if my partner is not feeling good and is expecting me to wake them up and give them pleasure, or to be available for me and my pleasure, there will automatically be a disconnect. And I think in most relationship, I'm sure, how many have been in a relationship where one person wants more intimacy or more sex than the other? Raise your hand. I don't see a single hand not raised. So what happens is that one wants the more intimacy and feel that the only way that I will feel good is if I get that from them. And what happens is that moment is that the other person feels a pressure to give something so that you can be happy. And the more that comes, the more that person will contract. And this is actually a child and parent behavior. It doesn't feel nice to say that because we don't want to hear that we are acting out child and parent behavior in a relationship. But when I can't fulfill my needs as a child, I should be able to reach out to my parent and they should be there. And then they come up in the lap. Are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling right? Let's relax. Yeah? And then over time, this child learns to regulate through the parents and come back to this place, I have everything I need. Yeah? But when most of our parents are not, we can all have amazing parents. I love my parents. And I think they have given so much. But it's enough that our parents are busy doing other things and dealing with their own emotional stuff. Yeah? For them not being emotionally fully available for us in those moments. And then we grow up, and then when we feel stressed, when we feel not seen, then we become like, do you feel this? Have you felt this? Please see me.
No, never.
Never. Please see me. Please, please. Yeah? And then we go on a date, and that person is so beautiful and amazing. We're like, oh, yes, this is the one. I found the love of my life. I want to marry them tomorrow. Or I go to an intimacy workshop and there was such a loving massage and I want to be with this person forever. Have you recognized that too? Some of you? So it's not bad to feel the neediness. It's very, very natural. We're all going to feel it in different moments. But it's a difference, say that I'm dating you. There's a difference is, I need you now. Can you please stay home for me? That is different from, I notice that I'm feeling very needy and it's difficult for me that you're going to go away. But I just want to share with you that if I could have a little bit of time with you before you go, or if you could call just to give a little bit of calmness to that part of me that feels lonely, I would appreciate that, for example. Do you notice how you're relaxing in the room? Yeah? Because when we are asking, when you don't love me if you don't do this. Yeah? Then the other person automatically is going to go like this. Yeah? So what are the things that you feel, you don't love me if you don't? I want you to be brutally honest. When have you been really upset on your partners? If you love me, you should. Can I hear some?
Answer your phone.
You should answer. If you love me, you should answer your phone. Yes.
Understand me.
If you love me, you should understand me. One more.
Not leave me.
If you love me, you should not leave me.
Hug me.
If you love me, you should hug me.
Cuddle.
You should cuddle me.
Keep distance.
You should have sex with me. Yes. Yeah? So just take a moment and if you put a hand somewhere where you feel that feeling. That feeling of if you love me, you should. Yeah? And just ask yourself, what is the need that I have right now that is not being met? Why am I needing this from this other person? So can I hear, what is it that you're feeling? What's the need?
Safety.
Safety?
Certainty.
Certainty?
Connection.
Connection?
Acknowledgement of a feeling.
Acknowledgement of a feeling?
Presence.
Presence?
Holding.
Holding?
De-stressing.
De-stressing?
Validation.
Validation?
Respect.
Hmm? Respect?
Trust.
Trust? Hmm?
Simplicity.
Simplicity? So in this moment, just take a moment and see that this part that needs this in you is very young. Or I can ask you, how old do you feel when you feel this feeling? If you loved me, you would. How old do you feel?
8.
8.
4.
4.
3.
3.
I didn't hear the question.
When you feel that feeling of you would, if you loved me, you would. How old do you feel inside? 13.
14.
14.
4.
6. 4.
7.
7.
7. So it's nice if we have a partner who wants to support our inner 7-year-old, but it's not their job. So just take a moment and just see that. Give it validation. Your inner 13, 7, 4-year-old, I see you. I respect you. I validate you. Your emotion is okay. I understand you. I love you. You notice how the energy is shifting in the room? Are they receiving each other? Are you receiving each other? Yeah? So when the trauma is big, to do this exercise might be very overwhelming. Yeah? And this is not a quick fix. This is a practice. This is not me changing your life in a 45-minute workshop. This is a practice of you recognizing how easy was it for that part, for me to connect with that part and give it what it needed and then be calm. I can do that today when the situation is decently stressful. But if it's very stressful, I won't be able to do it by myself. That's why we need a therapist. That's why we need a best friend. That's why we need other people. But those people have to consent to give us that support. So when we have an adult relationship with our partner or with our best friend, then we ask, I'm feeling super distressed right now. Are you available? Do you feel settled enough to hold me? Because if I come to your house tonight, I will need a lot of attention. Yeah? And then the friend says, I'm sorry, I'm so stressed and I know that I won't be able to hold you right now. And then you say, thank you, and that might hurt. Who else do I have? Maybe I should go to a therapist and with this instead. And then when we have a relationship where we get to know each other's inner children and inner emotions, then we start to recognize them in each other. And as opposed to when you say to me, if you loved me, you would call me, and then I can say, what is the need you have right now? Or which part of you is needing that? Me and my ex-partner, we'd give names to them. So I would say, so who's the one talking? So for example, I have Jasmine. Jasmine is waiting for Aladdin to come on the flying carpet and pick her up by the castle. Huh? You have a Jasmine? Who has a Jasmine here? Yeah? And what if you're waiting there in the castle and the carpet doesn't come? How will that make you feel? Right? So I would tell him, and it's like, Jasmine feels very upset that you're canceling, that you're not coming tonight. But the adult part of me understands that you're not feeling well and that you need to do something else. But it's a giving space for these parts to or these emotions to coexist. And then when you say, I need to cancel tonight, instead of saying like, but you promised, then it's like, I notice that I feel very sad. No? And this automatically improves our relationship because we're not pulling onto each other. I'm letting you to be a sovereign being, and I'm a sovereign being, and I'm consenting to support you. I was talking to a friend the other day who also do similar work, and she said that she felt super needy in the morning, and her boyfriend was going to work, and he was coming to go home very late. And she's like, I know. And she's like, I'm noticing it's really hard for me that you're going to go now. And she's like, can I just like sit by your legs and pull you and pretend that I could make you stay? And he's like, sure. And she's like, sit on his legs like, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go. And he's like, I'm sorry. And then she stood up again. It's like, whew, that feels so much better. And there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Some people like to act things out fully and like really feel everything. Sometimes that could be really useful, but it can also make us go into the trauma again. So if you were abandoned as a child and you would go in to do that with your partner, you might not feel better afterwards. You might, if you haven't dealt with that, you might just put yourself into the same loop. Yeah. So each person needs to find in themselves, where am I staying present in the emotion, and where am I actually just losing myself in a spiral that is not helping me. It was a very releasing moment in my trauma therapy when I understood was what releasing crying is, and what is trauma reaction crying. Because as I got into this world of feeling my emotions, then I thought that I need to feel my emotions more. I need to scream more. I need to cry more. But with my ex-partner, and then he wouldn't call when we were supposed to do something, I would find myself like lying like a baby, like crying and crying, and he wouldn't stop. And I thought, haven't I cried enough yet? But the thing is here, in that moment, I'm not sad, I'm afraid. I'm in fear of abandonment. And the crying is just covering up for not feeling the fear. So this is what the mirror of the therapist helps us with. This feeling that I'm going into, is it actually helpful? Or is it just a strategy for me to avoid what I'm actually supposed to feel? So if I'm in grief and I feel desperate and I can't let go of this person, maybe I lost someone, and I'm in desperation, that is fear, that is like I'm not going to survive without this person, I can cry there and I will not want to live, because it's a stuck. While the grief, that is me accepting the reality and releasing it and feeling the love towards that person, and cry. And you cry, and you feel it, and you cry. And then you're like, oh, wow. And 2 weeks ago, I went to a funeral at the same day as the Tantra festival started. And there was really like a life practice of this, because the grief for me was very releasing. And there were so many people there that I loved. And I came to the Tantra Festival and I was like, heart open, like I'm here. So then I released the stuckness, and then to move into pleasure, it's very, very close. Grief and pleasure is very close, because it's a releasing of energy, it's a releasing of tension and opening up for relaxation, and then the pleasure is here. And again, this is not the genital horny pleasure, it is the feeling in the whole body pleasure that comes. It's beautiful to see all your presence here now. You have a question?
I do.
Yes, please.
So, you exemplified the feeling of whole body pleasure in a, like, I think we can all see what you mean with your movement. Could you frame that in a, like a feminine, masculine energy thing? Because what I see there is like the feminine. And then I'm thinking, well, how do I, if I want to practice being in the masculine, what does that look like? Frame that's, yeah.
It's a very good question, and it's a whole workshop.
Yeah.
And while you were asking the question, I was looking at the time and realizing that we need to close off. My short answer, I'll give another workshop, and actually my friend just wrote me the other day and asked me to do so. For me, feminine and masculine can be seen as also like receptive or penetrative energy that we all have within us. So the feminine, in this case, is the receptive energy. It's where I feel pleasure in myself, and it's really like, whew. And a human who is not in contact with that will need that from someone else. So the first answer will be, even if you're a man or a woman, this is the basic of your pleasure. And because this is seen as feminine, and for women, we have a lot of men who think that they could not feel this. Which means that you need to get it from someone. And the neediness is born right there. Because you're not awakening it in you. So that's where you see in the strip shows and all these female feminine dances, it attracts hungry people who are not able to find that within them. And it's not related to gender. It's just more common among men to be in that space. So as a man, I would say first find the feminine. And then the masculine pleasure. If the self-pleasure is contained, like if you're content in that energy, or let's start with the other one. If you're not content in that energy, the masculine energy will become very wanting. It's like, you feel it? I see your reaction. It's like, it's hungry. It's like, yeah? Need to shake it out. Okay? It's a strong shadow in our society, and women step into that too. It's like I want to have sex with you. I want you. It's like it's needy. Yeah. So when we're relaxed and I'm in contact, say that I'm a man, and if you didn't know, I have a very fantastic golden penis. So I identify as gender fluid, and this is one of the reasons, because I can really feel the energy, that masculine energy, as if I had that penetrative energy within me. So if I'm in my feminine first, and I feel the pleasure and I feel good, then the energy is not stuck in the genitals. Because that's the neediness, is like everything is here, and it's like I need to put it somewhere. So when you spread it first and you feel the pleasure in yourself, and then you connect with the other person, and then you sense their energy, and then you're both kind of like feeling each other's energy, and then I'm invited with my penetrative force. Then it's like, I take you, but I'm because you want me. Do you feel the difference? Do you feel that it's still masculine? Yeah? Does that answer your question?
It was a good workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We need to round off, have a little snack, and then finish off with some yoga here in this space. So
We're changing because tonight is fluid. So instead we're going to have Qigong with Sebastian.
let us finish off here, and then we'll find the logistics. So, any comments or thoughts or? Fantastic.
Thank you. Super awesome.
Yeah.
More.
More. You get needy. It's been very interesting as I shifted my neediness from my partners. It showed up with therapists and mentors.
What's up?
As I realized I shouldn't put my neediness onto my partners, it would show up with therapists and mentors who I really looked up to. Then suddenly I would feel it again. It's like because they have some knowledge that I want, and then it's coming back. But they can handle it much better than partners. So it's a good next step to go towards. Thank you very much.